Order. With 6 trustees present, please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance to both flags.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
Thank you. We'll start with the superintendent's report.
Madam President, members of the board, if I could get Amy Lovelace from our high school up at the podium at this time for a special presentation. She and her athletes.
Can I get all the athletes up here?
Oh,
You want to say?
yeah.
Volunteers, coaches.
Get up front. We just have 2 presentations.
Can you all hear me without the mic? I have a pretty loud voice.
Well,
so.
they need the mic.
Let's bring them up front.
Oh. Okay. All right. Thank you, Mr. Cardona and Board of Trustees, for inviting us to the meeting. I'd like to recognize the Special Olympics team. We performed last weekend in Austin at a bowling competition. And I'd like to mention some of our coaches first. Amanda Bland is one of the high school coaches. Caitlin Ripley, another high school coach. Lauren Dawkins, middle school. And Taylor Brandis, elementary. And a special thank you to some of the volunteers that showed up to help out at practices and events. We've got Monica Martinez, Rachel Smith, Shannon Voigt, Tori Freeman, a past athlete, Sagar Patel, another prior athlete. And then, as always, thank you, Tammy, for your support of our program and always being there for us. We appreciate it. And I'm just going to announce the athletes, so when I say your name, give the crowd a wave. For our elementary team, we've got Kinley Farquhar, and she got 4th place ribbon. For our middle school team, we have Angela Perez, and she got 3rd place. And then for our high school and Crossroads, we've got Morgan Gomez, 2nd place. Joseph Ropolo, 3rd place. Sophie Bates, 3rd place. Hannah Dre, 2nd place. Desiree Morales, 1st place. Ruby Rodriguez, 1st place. Casey Teague, 3rd place. Brendan Allen, 3rd place. Peter Courtney, 2nd place. Ricky Ojeda, 2nd place. And Tyler Webb, 1st place. So great year, guys, and here's to many more. Thank you.
Come on, athletes. Yes, everybody. We're going to take a picture too. Okay. This is going to be a big picture. Congratulations, guys. Congratulations. Congratulations. Congratulations, Hannah.
Wait, don't go away.
Don't go away. Congratulations. 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 Yes. How are you doing? Good to see you again.
How are you, sir?
I'm good. How are you doing? Smile pretty up there. Y'all are good. Y'all are good. Stand right there. You're good. I like to hide.
Are you guys ready? Ready. 1, 2, 3.
Superstars. We have one more. We have one more. We have one more. Thank y'all. Thank you for coming. I know it's cold. Y'all stay right there. One more. Thank you, Ms. Lovelace. While the students exit at this time, if I could get Mr. Brake from the Masonic Lodge to come up while the students are exiting. And if I could get the principals to come up front, all of our principals that are here.
It's the principals for the 6 elementary
The
schools.
6 element, there you go. Thank you.
I would like to thank the board for allowing us to come to the meeting this evening. On behalf of the San Marcos Masonic Lodge, number 342, we are honored to, for the past decade or so, donate flags in honor of Veterans Day. These flags have been flown over the nation's capital. This year on September 15th, which is International Democracy Day. So we are honored to present these flags to our elementary schools. First is Travis Elementary. Bowie Elementary. De Zavala Elementary. Mendez Elementary. Hernandez Elementary. And Crockett Elementary. The Lodge would also like to thank all of our representatives from these elementary schools, as well as everyone here in the district, for the hard work that you do to continue pushing forward and educating the children of our community. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
You guys, 1, 2, 3. Perfect, thank
Thank you all very much. Also, I want to thank the principals in all our school communities for all the Veterans Day events that have been taking place over the past week. I think that's stuff that's not measured in a scorecard, but I think that teaches our kids very valuable lessons and is, I think, bigger than a report card. So I know there's a lot of staff that went to a great deal to put on all those great events, so thank you very much. And finally, I just want to thank our National Merit Commended students who we honored last week at the football game during homecoming. We had 2 National Merit Commended students, 2 national semifinalists, and 4 national Hispanic scholars that were represented with them and their parents. And so I appreciate all the hard work. Mr. Fernandez is putting together a video to showcase that you saw at the football game, showcase what it is we're doing in San Marcos that will be shown up and down the I-35 corridor at movie theaters. So we think that'll send a good message. And with that, hope everybody has a happy Thanksgiving, wonderful holiday, and get some rest. And I'll turn that meeting back over to you, Madam President.
Thank you, Mr. Superintendent. We are now ready for our public forum. I want to remind the speakers that citizens are offered an opportunity to address the board without prior approval. Presentations shall be informative only. Delegations of more than 5 persons shall appoint 1 person to present their views. The board requests that presentations not include statements that may be considered defamatory. Presenters should conduct themselves with common courtesy and in a respectful manner. In accordance with state law and district policy, disruptive conduct must be avoided so as not to interfere with the meeting. Our first speaker is Rodrigo Amaya. He's going to talk on leadership's response to bullying, lunchtime issue.
Thank you, Madam President, trustees. My name is Rodrigo Amaya, and I'm here to share an experience I had. My niece has been bullied. She was knocked out after she got off the school bus. I have a video that was sent to me by her mama. I brought that issue up to the superintendent, and I was expecting to have better response to the issue. I brought up the issue that parents are concerned about that application for bullying, because what was told to me by several parents is that the kids that are complaining are somehow the folks are able to hack into that system, find out who's reporting the bullying, so therefore they're afraid. When I brought this up to the superintendent, his response was that it did work in one case where a child was prevented from committing suicide. I'm not happy with one child being saved. I think all children need to be saved. I was also, I don't work for the school district, but a lot of folks in the community come to me for assistance because they know I like to help. An issue was brought up about issues with the lunch line, about now with the free lunch situation here throughout the district. They're not able to eat because construction and other issues, and I have the text if any of y'all want to see it. Well, again, I brought this up to the superintendent, and his response to me was, either you or these parents can go and monitor the situation and find out that this is not true. We shouldn't be taking time from our lives to come out here and monitor and fix these problems. They should be fixed at that level. That's my opinion. The salary that our superintendent is paid is very healthy, and those are not the responses that I was looking for. Several parents, in regards to that issue, wanted to start videotaping and bringing it over to me. I don't want to be accused of videotaping what's going on here because of legal issues with videotaping youngsters. I need some advice, some guidance on how to address these issues, because I'm not the one that specializes in this. I'm not the one that serves this community in the capacity that y'all do, so somebody needs to step up and make sure that this is fixed soon. So, if any of y'all want to reach out to me, I'll gladly assist, but this is not my responsibility. I do have a responsibility somewhat because they trust me, and I come to relay it to the school officials. But at the same time, I work. Reason I stay involved is because I have about 50 nephews and nieces, so thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Maya. Our second speaker will be Mr. Jenkins, Campus Improvement Plans.
Thank you, ma'am. My name is Harvey Jenkins. For those of you who watch Commissioners Court, you may have seen me there. I was reading the agenda and consider approval of district and campus improvement plans. I'm just wondering how much y'all are figuring y'all are going to need and how much it's going to cost us in taxes, and if I could get some clarification on that, I would be happy. Thank you.
Is that it? Thank you, Mr. Jenkins. Next, we have Jeff Latham, School Safety Concerns and the Solution to Guns on Campus.
How are y'all this evening? Thank you for all your work. I love you guys. We appreciate you. I'm a pastor at Westover here in San Marcos. I happen to do a lot of funerals here in town, and I don't want to see any funerals of our children. My concern is that a gun came on campus and was inside the school. This student was also high on drugs, and the gun made it on campus, and all he had to do was pull it out and shoot somebody. That's it. And we'd have had a funeral. And then you have all the loved ones, and the school would be hurting all over the place. So I wanted to come up here and mention an idea to you guys, because I love you. And we need to bring it down a notch because this is a hard topic. What I'd like to see is the opportunity for our school to have a metal detector at the front door that would beep, that would indicate, hey, we've got a problem. We need to look a little further and step to the side, and let's see if we can keep guns off campus. Prior to this happening, about a month prior to this, I was riding with my daughter in my truck, bringing her to school. Her name's Grace Latham. And she looked me in my eyes and she said, Daddy, I'm scared sometimes that somebody's going to bring a gun on school campus. And I said, babe, I think they're taking care of us. The San Marcos PD is here, and they're going to take care of us. But that gun still made it through those doors. So I wanted to say thank you for y'all coming together, working for the school. I love you guys. Thank you for all you do for our children, and I love our kids.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Latham. Next speaker is Salomon Amadon.
And a couple are coming, they're coming with me, but we're not gonna do anything crazy, so don't worry. We don't do Susan.
Huh?
We don't do Susan. She was speaking.
Yeah.
We just wanted to say thank you for all the help that you've done for not only transportation, but maintenance and the janitors and everybody else. And we want to say thank you because we have come from being, a lot of us, not being able to pay rent, not being able to pay for food. Now we're able to pay our bills and prosper a little bit. And if it wasn't for y'all helping us out, giving those decent raises that we needed, and giving us the 30 hours, so we get paid all year, so people aren't hurting in the summer. And if it wasn't for y'all, we would not be able to do this. We would not be able to enjoy some of the benefits of living in San Marcos, which is a very expensive town and is becoming more expensive. So we just wanted to say thank you from all of our hearts and all of transportation. And we've got actually some letters for y'all too. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Sorry, more people didn't sign them. We didn't have a chance to give to everybody. We wanted everybody to sign them.
Thank you.
Thank you
So
very
he
much.
wants them to sign
Thank y'all.
it?
No,
No.
he was just wanted them to sign it.
Oh,
You look at it and pass it down.
oh, okay.
That concludes our public forum. We will move into item 6, reports, information items. Consider entering into a land donation agreement with LaCima.
Good evening, President Clem Cantu, Superintendent Cardona, members of the board. My name is Karen Griffith, and I'm the Assistant Superintendent for Business and Support for SMCISD. Tonight, we bring to you a proposition. LaCima has offered to donate. As you know, this was the land development that also offered us a site for an elementary school back when we were trying to decide where we were going to build our new elementary, number 7. They have offered to come and give us a land agreement and hold that for 5 years in the event that in the future, if the district needs that property, they still want to show the district that they are committed and they would like us to build a elementary on their campus. So if the board, Eric Wills from LaCima is also here if you have any questions for him, and direction from the board whether you want us just to go ahead and start that if the district is interested in that, or if the, and then we'll bring the land contribution contract back to the board for approval at a later time.
Questions?
Sounds great.
Move on.
Any questions?
You
Okay.
said a representative was
Does
here?
he want to?
Yes.
Does he want to talk for a
speak?
minute?
That was
He looks
That's
like he's
antiquated.
prepared.
Last week, Karen had me
I didn't know that.
and I didn't even get to speak, and by the way, that was my 50th birthday last week.
Oh,
I'm so
So I sat there, and I didn't even have to speak, so it was actually kind of interesting. I didn't bring something to go up on the board for everyone to see, but this is the general map of LaCima as it exists right now. It's over 2,400 acres. This spot right here is where we have the proposed school site, and I can share that PDF with the board members as well. In our development agreement that we did with City of San Marcos, we agreed that we would do a 12-acre school site within the community, and we've designated a school site as a placeholder for ourselves for land planning purposes. It's becoming more and more important for us to lock that position down as we start to develop through the community. As you can see on this map, we've already developed this first phase where we have model homes. Homes are closing next month. We'll start developing this phase, and then we'll start land planning for this phase. We would like to know if that's where the school's going to be or not going to be.
where is the entrance? Which, over there on the, okay, thank you.
Right here at the intersection of Wonderful, Old Bridge 12, and it's actually.
I just know which
Center
one
Point
of the,
Road. It's actually Center Point Road that runs through LaCima.
Isn't it right across like where your model homes are? Isn't it kind of like across
No, the model homes are over here.
Oh.
Is it the same place that we were shown when we were trying to decide on the,
No, ma'am.
is this different?
It is a different location. We actually moved it from, it was this location here, and that's what it said. So we've been planning and moving this way. We actually had showed you this location right here, and we moved our mini center from over here to here, and now we've put the school at this location.
okay.
So for us, it's just planning purposes. We need to lock down that location as we move forward, or we'll, you know, I work for a lot of people that look at our land plan and go, that's a really good space to put homes. And so I would really like the school to lock down that location myself. Don't know if there's any questions.
Any other questions?
Good, thank you.
Thank you so much.
All right, thank you.
Academic update?
Clem, are we supposed to, was that an action item, or we're just?
No, that was just an informational item.
Thanks.
Good evening, Madam President, members of the board, and Mr. Superintendent. My name is Nicole Dre Rivera, and I'm the Executive Director for Innovative and Special Programs. And last week, I presented you with the campus improvement plans, the district improvement plan, and executive summaries of each Just a quick overview of the process with which these plans are developed. Each principal works with their leadership team. They go out and perform a needs assessment. Through that needs assessment process, they identify the areas of need. They use lots of data points to do that, which you can see through reading the entire plans. And then those plans come to our office, and we work with principals to refine them. We ask a lot of questions. They go through some revisions, and then it goes to our district improvement, our district, our DEIC. And that team then reviews the drafts that are nearly finished and provide feedback to the principals. Principals go back one more time and make any more revisions. At that point, we finalize them and present them to you for approval. I want you to please keep in mind that they are living documents. So as strategies are performed and put in place and outcomes are realized, they either decide to continue certain strategies or to discontinue, depending on what the outcomes are. So it's an ongoing process. Are there any questions from the executive summaries that you read from last week?
Yes. I'm sure I might not be the only one, but I'll lead off. A couple of things. I'm just going to skip around if I could.
Okay.
How do we qualify income for families at Bonham? I understand that a lot of them attend without any tuition, and there's a number that's based upon, but how does the district look for that data to qualify students?
Income is only one of the qualifying factors for free tuition. So they can either meet the income qualifying requirement, which I don't know the exact details, but it's basically what qualifies a student for free reduced lunch.
Is it self-reported?
It is self-reported and then followed up with whatever that agency is that, yeah.
Okay. And what are the other means of qualifying?
A student who's an English language learner, a student who is active military family, homeless, am I missing anything? Foster care.
Okay.
They're the state definition of at-risk.
Okay.
Did I miss one? Okay.
We also do request check stubs. They do have to bring check stubs in to qualify for income.
Okay, thanks. And does someone have, I have more, but I don't want to just fire away if someone else has anything.
You can.
All right, well, I'll make it quicker. On the 431 AP students at the high school, I just want to make sure I understand the data right. It indicated that 147, presumably of those 431, scored a 3 or better on an AP exam.
Yes.
And so I guess that means 284 didn't, which is 66% of those who were enrolled. Are we doing, is that open enrollment in those classes, or what are we doing for students who are maybe not prepared for that rigor?
Mr. Barton.
It's a great question. The AP program through College Board is open enrollment. It's open to anybody, and in fact, we can't exclude students who want to take an AP class from being in that course.
Okay, and so that still seems like a really high fail number. So what supports are they getting before they enter those courses, I guess?
For the last 2 years, we've run a bridge camp in the summer, working with our 8th graders so that they're ready for the increased rigor of study skills, note-taking, things like that that are foundational skills and will carry on. A lot of those students haven't had the advantage of that bridge camp because of our upperclassmen. We've only done it for the last 2 summers.
Okay. And how accurately could we predict the students who are gonna struggle with the AP material, meaning like if they sign up for a course in the spring and how accurately can we predict which ones will struggle, and then what support could they receive in the summer or in advance of attending the course?
I believe the high school has a vision of expanding that type of bridge camp in addition to the tutoring and the support we give throughout the school year. I wouldn't say we try to predict what students may or may not have success on an AP class when they sign up for it. We know students aspire and they want to take challenging coursework, and sometimes that's a bit of a stretch, but that is not something we discourage.
And Mr. Cardona wanted me to mention, we also give the PSAT to every 7th through 11th grader, which we get a report from that called AP Potential. And AP Potential is an indicator. It'll tell us which courses the kids are likely to be successful in. There are still a lot of skills that we're working on. We have AVID now, school-wide, district-wide, to help us with that.
So, I'm sorry, Ms. Smith, have you compared the AP Potential scores with the student performance on the AP exams, and how predictive is it?
I have looked at it and compared it, but we're enrolling more kids into AP, so it's probably not real indicative as far as what you're looking for, as far as the comparison. But we also have to compete with other programs. So even though we use that report as a starting point, not every child is going to enroll in an AP course that they're shown to be a success, that they could have potential to be successful in. So I don't have a real ironclad answer for you.
Just so you also, up until last year, we didn't have a way for teaching the teachers. We had a lot of teachers in AP that weren't going to training, so we have started with administrators and with teachers. We're working with a group called the National Math and Science Institute, who has really good data with students in urban settings, particularly kids from marginalized communities. And so they just had training this past week in English and math, where we brought the high school. So some of it is we haven't prepared the teachers to teach to the level that's on the test. So that's the second part of the component that we're doing. And also there is research through College Board that we can send you that even scoring a 1 will help when the kid's a first year student, which is an indicator in our state rankings, tracking kids a year after they leave. So we do, I think, Dr. Turnbow has a vision, and she's working the teacher aspect, because in some cases, I mean, you would think a 90 would reflect, but it probably doesn't. I mean, we have a lot of kids who get A's but don't get a 3. So we're trying to flip that and make that. So that's twofold.
And a 3, 4, and 5 will get you college credit in most cases, but a 2 shows college readiness.
Okay.
That's from College Board.
Right. That's all I got.
Ms. Hanson?
Yes, I see that our homeless population has increased. Could you, Ms. Dre Rivera, tell us the qualifications to have a student coded as homeless?
Yes, students who are doubled up with other family members, so there's more than one head of household. That is one indicator. Students who are living in transitional homes, in shelters, in hotels, not a permanent living situation, is the gist of what qualifies a student to be homeless.
Thank you.
I had a question for Ms. Smith. The report that designates that there's AP potential for the students, is that shared with the parents then?
We haven't shared it with the parents. We share it with counselors, and counselors talk to students about it.
I think it would be great if there was a way to share that with parents, because I think that oftentimes students have the perception, some students have the perception that particular AP classes or particular instructors are too difficult for them to take, and having the parent know that the child is showing that aptitude, I think would be great in terms of encouraging and getting the family support for.
I can work with our counseling group to come up with a form that they could do that with, but the report has everyone's name on it, so it would be
Oh, no, I'm certainly not suggesting that we make the whole report public. I'm just suggesting that we try to convey that to the parents on an individual basis.
Ms. Costilla?
Ms. Smith, you talked about that I consider it's an assessment preventive tool when you get that report back. And on the other side of the coin, you know, not so much AP, but is that information being utilized for identifying where they're not doing well, discipline-wise, as far as discipline, the categories of either math, science, or whatever?
Well,
Are we using that for the purpose of not just AP, but where we need to focus on the need arises in those particular disciplines?
Yeah, we have had situations where we have kids that there's AP potential reports, let's say AP psychology, but they're not even in the class. And so the question for the council, why haven't we had a conversation? Or the AP psychology teacher has really good scores, tends to be above. Why aren't we getting more kids into that class? Because that seems to be a teacher who's good, but we have found where we've mismatched or not had students in certain classes.
But are we using it beyond the purpose of matching that, or just using it to see whether they did academically, they did okay in that, or did they need help, or that somewhere in preparation for the PSAT, these students need more work, more rigorous work, and in that particular discipline, whether it's math or science, reading, or that's what I'm.
We had AP rigor boot camps that we started. So we had about 40 kids who gave up their Saturdays to come up to work. Saturdays, I think is when it was. Or
AP Thursdays as well.
AP Thursdays during, is it the one during lunch?
During lunch and after school. And the AP Potential Report does some of that, but with PSAT, we actually get a report back that's much more inclusive.
That's the one that I was looking at.
And that one we're not going to actually give back to students this year until January. We're going to sit with them and show them how to link to Khan Academy at that time so that they can get a customized practice.
And I think that's where I'm coming from, is that you give the PSAT to, 7th through 11th grade?
Yes, ma'am.
And you get a report back telling you how all these kids, not looking at AP, but all these kids, how they did. And so that's what I'm getting at, as to whether we're utilizing that assessment tool.
Yeah, I'm working with Ms. Chapman Mustafa, and she's going to be talking to her counselors. We've spoken to our college and career counseling group and Bianca Duval, who's our lead counselor, to make sure that they do not release those reports until we can sit down, explain how to interpret the report, have a parent meeting to do the same, and then have kids in there with their laptops so that we can link their accounts then and there.
Yeah, thank you.
It's good utilization of those results. I had a question when I went through all of these improvement plans. Some schools mention mobility rate and others don't. Do we have it for every school, the mobility?
We can get it for every school. For the schools that it's not as big of a problem, they may not have chosen to put it in there. The plans are unique to each school. There are certain requirements that they have to address. There are laws that dictate that. But other than that, the principals and their teams really own those plans. And so that's why you'll see variances in some of the information that's included. If you'd like us to add that to each plan, I can certainly go in and do that.
There's a difference between the schools. I noticed that some had like 23 and others have 15 maybe. So there's a lot of movement in some schools, and that makes it hard if they're just transferring to another school within the district.
Yes, ma'am.
Keep track of that. Anybody else? Ms. Halsey?
Yeah, I think I've talked in the past about the format of these reports, and so I wanted to just circle back to that and say that I really appreciate this format, and I think it's greatly improved, especially with the executive summaries for the district as a whole, as well as individual campuses. Thank you.
Yes. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Construction update.
On page 16 of your report, you will find the construction update. We do have our architect, and we also have representatives from each construction company, if anyone has any questions.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. Sorry. I noted that the transportation building had identified the delays, but I just wanted to make sure that we are still on target from the last meeting when we said we'd be opening in January.
Yes.
Great, thanks.
And before Mr. McLaughlin asked, and the roofing is still on schedule?
The what?
The roofing for Hernandez, is it still on schedule?
Revised schedule. Yeah, I was letting it go. They've made a lot of progress since the last meeting.
We're a year ahead.
Okay.
Okay.
questions? And they're all here if you have any questions, so.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming.
Not on that project.
Approval of a consent agenda items, ready to look at the approval of minutes for regular scheduled board meeting on October 15th, 2018, and special call board meeting on November 5th.
I'll move that we approve.
Pull that item. I'm gonna have to abstain from it since I wasn't here.
Which one?
The item A, the minutes for the 15th meeting.
You're going to abstain, but why are you trying to pull it?
Because otherwise, if we vote for all of them, I would be voting for that one too.
Oh, so you would like for us to split them?
At least item A from the consent agenda.
Okay.
That's the only thing in there. There's no personnel action, right, Ms. Kenton?
No personnel action.
So I'll move that we approve the October 15, 2018 minutes from the special, regularly scheduled board meeting.
Do I hear a second? I'll second. Ms. Cantu. All in favor? All opposed? And one abstention.
I move that we approve item B.
Is there an item?
No,
No, there's no
So
item
just
B.
Oh,
the
excuse me.
November 5.
I thought it was the other.
Item 8, items for action.
Well, we still have to approve. So I'll make a motion that we approve the minutes from the specially called board meeting of November 5,
What I meant.
2018.
That's what you meant to do, is
Yes,
split it up.
sorry.
I'll second.
Second from Halsey, Mrs. Halsey. All in favor? 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. All opposed? 0. Items for action, presentation, and approval of the 2018 Comprehensive Financial Report. And it was a long report.
Good evening. We have our auditors with ABIP. This is Jeremy Barbato, right? Did I say that right? That's going to present our financials to you tonight. So I'll go ahead and get started.
Very, very
Thank you, Madam President, Board of Trustees, and Superintendent for having me here today. Like Karen had said, my name is Jeremy Barbato. I'm an audit manager here at ABIP. Mike Del Toro is the engagement partner. He has a prior commitment he was unable to attend. I'm accompanied by Scott Woodland. He was the senior over the engagement. He was in the day-to-day weeds of the audit. I'm here just to take credit and take the presentation. So we performed an audit over the San Marcos Consolidated Independent School District for the 10-month ended June 30th, 2018 fiscal year. What's in an annual financial report starts out with the introduction, which is the board certification letter of the annual financial report that's submitted to the Texas Education Agency. Also, our independent auditor's report. That's actually the only letter in the entire financial reporting package that belongs to us, the independent auditors. Management discussion analysis is really just the cliff notes to the financial statements that kind of give a high-level overview of the district and its ongoing projections. Government-wide financial statements, these are highly used by bondholders and rating agencies for your bonds. And then the fund financial statements, which y'all are accustomed to, that's what y'all operate at, y'all pass y'all's budget on. Notes of the financial statements that kind of give a little more explanatory descriptions of the financial figures. Some required supplementary information and other supplementary information that's required by US GAAP. Our independent auditor's report, we follow a few standards, generally accepted auditing standards to perform our audit, in addition to government auditing standards and the uniform guidance. Uniform guidance is applicable to your single audits. You get federal funding, and we had to perform an audit over a certain program, which we consider type A, and that was the child nutrition. We have no comments or findings related to that audit that we performed in accordance with this uniform guidance. The other purpose of the independent auditor's report is to form an opinion on the financial statements themselves and make sure that they are in accordance with generally accepted accounting principles, or US GAAP. That said, our audit is unmodified. It means that we have no modifying statements to the financial statements, that your financial statements are in accordance with generally accepted auditing or accounting principles. It's again, it's the highest opinion we can give as independent auditors. So it's a good check mark. This year we did have something new that we had to implement on the books. It's a new accounting principle. It's called, we refer to it as GASB statement number 75. It's accounting and financial reporting for post-employment benefits other than pensions. A few years ago, we had to implement GASB number 68, which is putting the pension liability on the district's books, the proportionate share of the pension liability related to TRS. This year, we had to capture the TRS care, which is the retiree health care, other post-employment benefit liability. It's determined by the state, actuaries, and the district just has to record their proportionate share. It only impacts the government-wide financial statements, which y'all don't report at. Y'all just report at the fund level, or operate at the fund level. But nonetheless, we had to implement this because it was a GASB statement that we had to implement. And note 1C and note 8 give a little more explanatory information on that. The management discussion analysis, these are the bullet points that break out this part of the financial report. Financial highlights, I'm going to go over that in a little bit. It describes the overview of the financial statements, the government-wide financial analysis, and the district fund analysis. Government-wide financial statement, again, we had to adopt GASB statement number 75. It's retroactive application, which means we had a prior period adjustment. There's nothing the district did. It was just a new liability we had to pick up on the books. So the OPEB liability as of 8/31/2016, which is the earliest measurement date we could get from TRS, was $50.1 million. It's a big number. It's a big financial hit for all school districts in the entire state of Texas. Y'all's proportionate share was only $50.1 million. That said, your net position, your equity, on a full accrual basis for the government-wide financial statements was still $51.7 million in the positive. It's a lot better than some other school districts that had to pick up this liability as well. Most of them dipped into the negatives. That said, of the $51.7 million, your OPEB liability as of June 30th, 2018 was $28.5 million. And I threw up here the pension liability, which is just over TRS, is also 15.2. Again, none of these informations hit your fund levels that y'all operate at. It's just statements we have to adopt this year. The net position actually decreased by $28.8 million from last year, but included in that is this $50 million hit. So you actually returned $21 million in the positive, not counting this prior period adjustment. Your fund financial statements, which y'all operate at on a day-to-day, month-to-month basis, is the general fund balance at the end of the fiscal year was $44.8 million, an increase of $6.1 million from last year. It's about 6 months of operating reserves, so it's a very healthy fund balance. GFOA recommends anywhere from 3 to 6 fund balances for governments, and y'all are right at the top end of that. So it's a very healthy fund balance. And I threw in here what your cash balance for the general fund, your claim on cash was 47.6. So you can see most of your equity is tied up in your cash, which is a good thing. That's telling financial statement users that the district is very liquid and able to support their fund balance with liquid cash, liquid assets. The combined fund balance for all funds was $109.2 million, an increase of 16.7. Most of that increase is due to the 10-month change. We had debt service payments, which is principal and interest, of about $11.2 million that are come due on August 1st, 2018. We didn't pick any of that up this year. There's no accrual necessary per GASB statements. So your fund balance for the general fund, or for the debt service fund, actually increased by $14 million in the year. But 11.2 wasn't recorded as expenses to bring that number down. It was when the bond payment became due August 1, and so it was just a timing thing for the fiscal year change. This is your, it's kind of hard to see, your fund balances for the general fund, debt service, and capital projects fund, and then the other non-major governmental funds. So like I said, your general fund was $44.8 million, and you can see here that only really about $10 million is reserved for other appropriations. Your unassigned general fund balance was $34.4 million. Again, that's the number we base on your ongoing operations, the 6 months operating reserve. So again, that's a very healthy number. Capital Projects Fund is $45.3 million. That actually dipped down a little bit from last year by about $5 million, 4.5 or around there, which is good because that means we're spending our bond money on projects that are ongoing. All that in the Capital Projects Fund is related to bond proceeds from prior issuances. Finally, we issue a letter of conduct of audit. We deal with management on a day-to-day basis, but we only get to talk to you maybe once or twice throughout the year. And this is our report to you, the governing body of the district, on how the audit went. Accounting policies, again, we had to adopt a change in accounting policy, GASB number 75. So any other changes we would have to communicate to you. Also, obviously, we changed fiscal year, so we had a special note disclosure in the financial statements related to that. Accounting estimates are an integral part of these financial statements. The biggest one are these actuarially determined liability of TRS and TRS care that we had to adopt. The allowance for doubtful accounts on ad valorem taxes that you are going to collect, and then also the useful lives of depreciation of the fixed assets that you'll have on the books. If we had any difficulties performing the audit, disagreements with management, we would be required to report that to you. We had none. Management really helped pull this thing together, so I'd like to commend them also for all their help in pulling this together. Fiscal year changes are never easy on anyone, including auditors, but definitely not the district staff. And there's an education that goes along with that, from the finance team all the way down to the principals and the budget leaders. Management representation letters. Management has issued us pretty much everything we needed to do to conduct our audit and issue our opinion. And then finally, we had no comments on internal control. Everything's working pretty sound at the district. The internal control structure the district holds doesn't have much risk related to it. They have enough segregation of duties to mitigate that. And then one little tidbit we like to throw in is your compliance with Public Funds Investment Act. That's your investment officers making sure they seek adequate training, and y'all are investing in investments applicable to this act. So with that, I'll take any questions you got.
Questions? Thank you very much. Ready for a motion?
I move that we approve the 2018 Comprehensive Financial Report.
Mr. Arredondo seconds. Any further discussion or questions? All in favor? 6, all opposed, 0. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you.
Consider approval of design development for the Child Development Center.
Good evening, board members, superintendent. Thank you for having me. My name is Coleman Uresti. I'm from Perkins & Will, and I'm the project manager on these projects. Just wanted to give you a quick update on the design development for the CDC project that we talked about. This is outside of the bond. This is not included in the bond work. I just want to just clarify that. So we've had quite a few meetings with staff, talked about how we wanted to move forward, and I think we've really gotten to a good spot with Jennifer, and just wanted to kind of recap some of this. Budget and schedule. Schedule right now, we are looking at going out to bid in January, allowing us to have a month to bid it, and then we can start some of that construction before summer starts. We'd like to start to get some of those interior, because it's mostly an interior renovation project, so we want to make sure we can get that started, because then we're going to have to demo the building they're in now, that portable building they're in now, and then regrade before school starts. So we're really trying to start in March, just to make that schedule happen so that the kids can start playing when school starts in August. Just a general sketch of the site plan. And really focusing, and I don't have my pointer today, but if you can see the two trees on the upper left side, creating that as our new entrance. So you'd have a paved area there, have some front-end parking, but we also have a bus drop-off zone as well. Thank you, Craig. We have a bus drop-off zone for students that would like to drop their children off at the front door as well. And then we have some parking, and that's an existing parking lot already that you already have back there. We're just going to kind of do some restriping in that zone. And then keeping the parking in the back here. And then really focusing on this outdoor play. You have some really good shade trees out there right now, keeping as many of the trees as we can, working around that, and then providing room for playground, outdoor learning space, maybe a little track, you know, the kids can ride their tricycles around, and those kinds of spaces for them to have. So we have a good mix of hardscape, soft play, and grass areas in their play zone. On the interior, really trying to keep with the current layout as much as we possibly can, but we do need to add our restrooms. So we're adding restrooms in these existing, or in the classrooms, and so they can have close access to that. Talked about a lot of self-learning how to wash hands and, you know, the height of those sinks, and so we're really getting into the details of how those spaces need to be laid out, the heights of the toilets. You know, with ADA, when you're dealing with 3- and 4-year-olds, they get really small, like 12 inches tall, kind of cute ones. And then talked about our cubbies in the hallways as well. And then we also have this cafeteria space out here where the kids can go and have lunch, and then they can go directly outside. So a big focus in previous discussions was having that direct access outside into the fenced-in area from those classrooms. So we have the older kids, 3, 4, 2, 3s on that north side, and then the infants, they aren't going to use doors, so they're going to be down on the south end. And as I mentioned, this is that main entrance, creating a reception area, has direct access into some computers where if mothers need to go in there, do some research, they have that availability as well. And then just a couple of, this is an updated version, I believe, from what you got. Just some interior renderings, trying to bring some of that color into their spaces. In this top view, that's that cafeteria space. Here, just a standard classroom. Trying to get some color in there, some acoustic treatment on the walls as well. And then our main entrance down in the bottom here.
Sorry, could you back up to the last slide?
Yes.
The space in the middle on the bottom that says mother, is that intended to be a nursing space?
Yes, that is
Great.
correct.
Thank you.
And then the narratives, I won't go into that in great detail, but we are needing to do some replacements on HVAC, or AC units out there. They are, some of them are starting to go out, so we'll replace those. Due to energy code, we're going to be replacing all the lighting fixtures to get them into LED. And then we are bringing a fire sprinkler system into the building as well. That's just a good brief overview of the project. Any questions?
Can you go back to the slide that shows the classrooms?
Yes.
Yeah, right there. That orange area, that's where everybody's going to come through?
Yes, so that's your main reception zone. So here, it's kind of a holding space. You're going to check your child in. We'll have 2 different types of computers, so they can check in digitally, drop your child off, go pick up, and check out digitally as well.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
Yeah, I have.
Ms.
So,
Castilla?
question for, is there going to be an increase in capacity here? Is there going to be an increase in capacity? Yes. What is the capacity now?
We're licensed for 60, but we really serve about 40, but we are to go up to 60.
Oh, you are? Okay, and this is going to accommodate the 60 plus or just 60?
60.
Just 60.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I'll entertain a motion for an approval. Mr. Redondo?
I'll make a motion that the board approve the design and development of the Child Development Center as presented by staff.
I'll second.
Ms. Halsey seconds. Any further questions or discussions? All in favor? 6, all opposed, 0. Consider method of procurement as competitive seal proposal for the Child Development, no, I'm sorry. Yeah, for the
Yeah,
Child Development
Child
Center renovation.
Yes, section 44.031 dictates, of the Education Code dictates that we have to decide the method of procurement for any project over the 50,000. We are recommending that this CDC Development Center be procured through the competitive sealed proposal process with the criteria as listed on page 153 of your book.
I'll move that we approve the competitive sealed proposal as the method of procurement for the Child Development Center renovation.
Mr. Arredondo seconds. Questions? All in favor? 6, opposed, 0. Consider approval of guaranteed maximum price, GMP, for district-wide elementary school additions and renovations.
Yes, we have 5 of our elementary campuses, which are Hernandez, Mendez, Travis, Crockett, and Bowie Elementary, that we are going to be doing some of them will be doing the additions, some of them are just going to be doing the library media center renovations with also the, what do you call it? Maker spaces, thank you. And so we did get a GMP, a guaranteed maximum price, from Cadence Machine on this project, and it did come within budget.
Great. What were the 5 elementaries again? It's right here, Mendez, Travis, Crockett, and Bowie.
Hernandez, Mendez, Travis, Crockett, and Bowie Elementary.
Thank you.
De Zavala will come separately.
Mr. Arredondo?
Thank you, Ms. Cantu. I'll make a motion that the board approve the guaranteed maximum price for multi-campus additions and renovations of $11,342,346 as presented.
And I will second.
Ms. Halsey seconds. Questions or discussion?
I have a question. Did you get other guaranteed maximum price bids besides that of Cadence McShane?
We did that when we went out for bid.
Okay.
Remember when we
Right, this was just the final negotiated
Yes.
number?
Yes.
Of the chosen contractor?
Yes.
Okay, thanks.
Any other questions?
I do.
Ms. Halsey?
Could you please remind me of what the budgeted allocation was in the original bond for this portion?
Well, this was just for the, this amount right here was just for but we bid the whole thing together. I can separate the bond packages out, but the construction piece, but the whole for everything for A&E and soft costs and all that.
Didn't it come under 40,000?
Yes, this was for the construction price, yes, but she's asking for the whole total project. Yes. I don't have that. And I put elementaries all together. I can get you the breakdown
fine.
because I did we put all elementaries, which would include De Zavala in the number.
You can break it
so
out
I'll
for
send
me.
that
That's
to
fine.
I'll send
Thank
that to y'all.
Ready for the vote? All in favor? 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Opposed? 0. Consider award of bid for abatement and demolition of the central office building at 501 South LBJ with alternates for demolition of some portable buildings.
Yes, on page 155 of your packet, you will find the breakdown, and this is to, it's in kind of 3 different packages so that we can look at it as far as the board giving us direction. The abatement costs did come out higher than expected. When they did go in there and test, we had a lot more positive areas than we had originally anticipated. So As you can see, the abatement costs and also the monitoring costs drove this project up.
Questions?
Yeah, I'm just generally concerned with the overall level of cost. I was supportive of the idea of demoing the old admin building, but I was expecting it to be quite a bit less money. So that has changed me from supportive to not supportive. If I recall, there wasn't an urgency to this. It was just something that we thought would help the site generally, and if we were going to hold it a while, be a net positive, but that was at a lot lower number, so.
Do you remember how much lower?
I thought it was going to be like $100 grand. Did we have those? Do you have that number, Jay? Mr. Wesson?
Sure.
What did we originally discuss as the number? Do you recall?
Well, we thought the
100?
demolition would be in the $50,000 to $60,000 range, which it still is.
Yeah.
But Ms. Griffith is correct. There's a lot more ACM present, asbestos-containing material, all the sheetrock in that old admin, which we did not think was. So the cost to abate and to monitor that abatement, you know, you have to file with the state and follow
Sure.
their procedure, and it's a lot more expensive than we had anticipated.
Ms. Costilla?
I think, Mr. McLaughlin, I think the conversation was that we didn't want to put money into paying for utilities at those buildings, savings.
Right.
And then when we heard the magic number about 60 something, we thought, you know, it would be something. But I agree with you. This is a lot of money to be taken from fund balance.
Ms. Halsey?
I agree. There's a little sticker shock, but I also feel like we have a responsibility to take care of the site, and that this cost will certainly not decrease in the foreseeable future. And so we should go ahead and spend the money now and take care of it and remedy it. And that's my feeling.
And I have great concerns about the portables possibly being used and getting rid of them, and also the playground. I'm concerned, even though we have it fenced off, that people are still going in there and playing, and then we're liable as a district for that. Even if we post notices, it still doesn't
And I
matter.
will state that, you know, if you accept this, we can do some negotiation with the low bidder. So, and that process has already begun as far as putting back that wall for the El Centro. And I feel like we can definitely get a lower price on that. I mean, $8,000 to $10,000 lower. It's still going to be expensive, but anyway, we can do some negotiations with them.
You know, are those portables still being? I didn't mean to interrupt you, Mr. Redondo.
Mr. Redondo?
Yeah, they would have to, and we don't want to do so.
Thank you, Ms. Cantu. My only question is, I guess, a clarifying question is, if the approval of the central administration demolition and abatement and the removal of the 2 portable classrooms not being used by El Centro, those things could be approved separately.
Yes, and just for the record, the portables that we're talking about are removing are the one that's attached to the building. That's the one that we're needing to replace the wall if we take that one down. Nobody is using that right now. It's falling apart. It's coming off of that building. The second one is the one that's diagonal. Nobody's using those portables. It's where school field used to be, and nobody's using those portables. So that's the portables that we're addressing in this. No other portables will be touched.
I guess the reason why I asked that, Madam President and my colleagues, is if we're looking at decreasing this cost tonight, but still taking action, and, you know, to reiterate what Trustee Halsey said about our responsibility to the site, and to echo Trustee Hanson's sentiment about just overall safety, I'd be amicable or interested in making a motion that excludes the removal of the portable attached to El Centro and replacing that wall, which cuts us down about $48,000 from the proposed budget amendment. Just an idea.
Ms. Costilla?
Karen, Ms. Griffin, what would be just the cost by itself for the administration building and the playground? Nothing else?
I have that for you. I broke that
Because
down.
I think that's where
on the budget.
the issue regarding utilities and safety that Ms. Hanson talks about. So you just do those things, those 2 things.
Okay, so for the old central office and the playground is $137. $450.
So you still are, we still are at double what we had maybe talked about.
Yes.
I have a question. I absolutely understand that line of reasoning in terms of trying to reduce that cost, but am I not correct in assuming that if we were to take those ports out, we would be getting some efficiencies by doing it all at the same time? In terms of like the removal of the debris and having the crew already on site?
Sure, there's some savings there, but you're gonna have to tear down more portables at some point in time.
Right.
As well, so. You probably are
They're
getting
not gonna get better.
No.
No.
So you're saying we pay it now or pay it later?
Yeah, the one that's school field was,
Yeah.
the floor is
They're
falling
in
through.
terrible condition.
Okay,
But
may,
Just,
go ahead.
Mr. Arredondo?
thank you, Ms. Cantu. I guess just another clarifying question then. How many portables are on the site currently?
1, 2,
If you count the cafeteria as one that's up
The old
next to the,
cafeteria.
where we'd have to tear down the wall next to El Centro,
5.
there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
Is
10.
that the one that's utilized by El Centro?
Mhm.
Or
No.
it's just
That-
attached to
this-
it?
It's just
None
attached.
of the portables that we have in here for demolition are being utilized by anyone currently.
Ms. Costilla?
Just for purposes of posing this to the board, what is the intent here other than safety and not paying utilities? So what is the intent of tearing down the rest of the portables? I mean, is there an intent here for tearing down the portables? Or are we just looking at tearing down the old administration building so we don't have to pay utilities and making it safe as far as tearing down the playground? So, you know, we talk about the portables, so I'm trying to find out what the intent is to tear down the portables. I'm not saying we should keep them, I'm looking at the cost. I'm just wanting.
There isn't a way to turn off utilities so that's, even
I
if we
mean-
didn't do anything with it, the utilities?
No, I don't think it was utility savings on the portables. I just think they need to be gone. I mean, they're,
But that's what I'm saying, is that why do they need to be gone? Is it gonna make it more attractive to a potential buyer? Is it going to make it, I just don't know what the intent is if we went to tear down the portables.
I can only speak for myself, but I would say my intent would be to stabilize the site and to make improvements to the site in general. Just having two aging, decrepit pieces that are not being able to be used. The space is, it's an eyesore. I think it's a.
But why improvements? I mean, are we gonna utilize that space
I
at
think
some point
because
in
we
time?
have responsibilities to the current users of the space as well as to the community in general, the neighborhood, to maintain a quality space.
And I would make an argument that essentially this is an abandoned building that the district, and I don't think this board has any interest in putting money into to renovate or rehab or refurbish. And just the sheer cost of that alone to maintain, I mean, if this was any of our private property and we knew that there was an abandoned structure on it, I think we'd want to remove it as quickly as possible. And given, I think, the location in this neighborhood, had it been any other neighborhood, I think we would have taken action on this a very long time ago. And I would hate to see the exact same thing that happened at the Lamar property, which had sat vacant for years and was a complaint for that neighborhood when it was vacant as well and not being utilized. So again, I just think it is our responsibility to maintain the site, or if we choose not to take action tonight, what are we going to do to maintain that property, whether that's landscaping, whether that's air conditioning, or whatever that maintenance and upkeep of that facility is. And I think that was the sole impetus for when I brought this to the board several months ago, was do we know what we're doing with the site? And the question was, no, not really. And so this is one of the proposals to address what we're doing to that site.
I think, I mean, it's been empty for about 6 months, so I disagree that if it had been any other part of town, we would have done something, you know, like in 30 days or 60 days after we moved out. Lamar was empty in the historic district or near the historic district for years, or marginally used, and we didn't do anything with that before we sold it. So, I don't know, we could sell this property as a school district, you know, in the intermediate term, and then it would be unnecessary to spend this money. If the district is intent on holding it for a long time or redeveloping it for our own uses, then it probably does make sense to take on this big expenditure. But since I think we're probably collectively undecided on what we're going to do on the site, I don't see the rush.
So am I hearing from the board that we want to table this for another?
I'd like to make a motion.
Yeah, I'd rather go ahead and move.
I make a motion that we accept the recommendation to approve the award for $194,450 for the demolition and abatement of the old central office site.
I'll second.
Mr. Arredondo seconds. Can we continue with the discussion, or have we said everything we want to say? Ready for a vote? All in favor? 1, 2, 3, 4. All opposed? 2. 2 opposed. But you said that there was possibility of negotiating downward still. Okay, thank you.
Let us know how that goes, since we publicly approved the number and awarded the bid. I mean, if they come off of that a significant sum, I would be interested to hear.
And announce it
Meaning
at a
that's
board
not gonna
meeting.
happen. I mean, I think that's, so, I don't want my colleagues to carry false hope or think that they didn't spend $194,500 tonight, because we certainly did.
Yeah, if we have a lower amount, I'd like to make sure we announce it at a board meeting for the public.
Of course, comes out of fund balance, of course, anything will help.
Okay. We are on F. Consider approval of district and campus improvement plans. Ms. Hanson?
I move that we approve the district and campus improvement plans.
I'll second that.
Ms. Costilla seconds. Any discussion or questions? All in favor? 6. All opposed? 0. Consider approval of digitizing board meeting minutes. No one speaking?
Can somebody explain what that means, everybody?
What was explained to us during agenda prep was that very old minutes are needing to be conserved, and in conserving them, they're going to digitize them. And so that we can have them from the last 100 years or for however long it took that we've been having minutes. And so this was presented to us at agenda prep. Are we ready to vote for that?
Will current meeting minutes be digitized also then as we go through the process? Will current meeting minutes also be digitized as we go through?
They already are.
Oh, okay, great.
So is there a cost associated with this, or is it just someone putting it through a scanner?
There will be a cost associated with this.
How much?
We have to reach out to several different firms.
It was,
Address it. We are in the process. We have all these files and all these different locations, and some of it is permanent record. And the Schools and Library Division is who dictates what we have to keep and what we can't have to preserve. Board minutes is one of those, and in order for us to digitize those items, it says that we need to have board approval. Otherwise, we still have to hold the actual copy and have a place to store that for the next umpteen years until the district is trying to, instead of having all this space with records in them, we are trying to move to digitalize all that so that we don't have to keep paper copies. That is going to be a district-wide initiative. And so that would, just so you know, that would be part of our budget going through. So we were not going to have a big project and come back and ask you for $1 million to do that. So we are trying to do that and carry that project as we go forth. So this is also for the record to make sure that the board is in agreement that we can start digitizing and not keeping the original copies of these items.
So you already have money in the budget to do this?
We
to
will.
start
I
with?
mean, we have a big project to do because we have lots. We have all kinds of student files. We've got special education files. We have these files, and we're running out of storage space. So we could either build another building to hold all these permanent records in, or we can start digitizing them, so.
Right, but the minutes, trying to grab one, are like
Pages long.
4 pages long.
Well,
right?
they
So I
put-
just don't want to, I don't
Okay, well,
want,
with each one of those, she puts the book with it, so the items are with them, so if somebody tries to ask what those items are. So on most of them, you've got that plus
the board book,
the board
Yeah,
book,
the board
yes.
book.
and whatever it looked like in 1960. but
Yes, which is more handwritten. A lot of
you
them
could
are
ask
handwritten.
them. I'm not gonna
Ms.
say.
Halsey?
Sorry.
So I'm definitely in favor of digitizing and reducing the amount of paper that we're using and reducing the storage, but I feel like I need a more comprehensive presentation about what specific site we're going to be saving, what space we'll be saving, where the records would otherwise need to be, what the overall cost for the total project is, and how this plays into it.
Okay, and we're currently working on that, and once I have an answer for you, I'll bring it back.
I'm certainly in
Okay.
favor of this. I just need to, I don't feel like I have the full picture.
Neither. How about I move to table item 8G?
Mr. Adonta, were you going to table it?
No, I wasn't going to table it, but I just wanted to express my support for going paperless as a district or digitizing student records, and obviously not having to have a vault like we do at some of our campuses to keep that information in. I know, talking with faculty and staff for several years now, having served on the board, there's been an interest to do that, so I'm excited to see what, like Ms. Halsey said, that elongated plan is to take the entire district in that direction. What type of financial support would be needed from this body to accomplish that? So,
Greg
thank
is
you.
currently working on that.
And sorry, just one thing, other thing. I'm assuming that data security will be part of that presentation in terms of how we are maintaining the privacy
Yes.
of our records. Thanks.
Did someone have a motion?
I had to move to table it until we had more, but I don't know if anyone else wants to.
I guess the financial information?
Yeah.
I'll second. Do we need to?
If there wasn't a cost associated, and we were just affirming a general idea of support of digitizing minutes, that's fine, we can do that. But if by approving that, this were somehow approving even $1 in expenditure, then I'd like to know how much it would be.
So do we want to table, do I hear a motion to table?
I moved, yeah.
I will
did.
second the motion.
Mr. McLaughlin has moved. Do I hear a second? Ms. Halsey seconds. That we table this until we have more information. Questions or
At the
discussion?
December board meeting?
Maybe if she can have it ready for us.
Maybe in conjunction with Mr. Hubenek. I mean, it doesn't sound like there's a urgency.
All in favor? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 0 opposed. Consider nomination to Hayes County Appraisal District Board of Trustees. Does anyone have a nomination?
I would like to nominate Mr. Ruben Garza.
I'd like to nominate Mr. Ruben Garza.
He resides in Kyle, Texas. He used to be served on the board many years ago. And as a matter of fact, he also served in the appraisal district many years ago, so he's got experience in that. So that's
Okay.
my nominee.
That's your nomination.
I'll
Anyone
second that.
else?
Oh, so do we need a second? No, we just make.
No,
Okay.
she's just bringing nominations. Anyone else have a nomination?
I just had a question. Mrs. Griffith, do we have to approve this? Will it come back to us a second time, or is this essentially we nominate, we have enough votes, so?
Okay, this one isn't, this one's a little bit different. It's like the other ones. You're gonna nominate, someone, and I think they're gonna look at the applications and, decide from that. So, our is by nomination, and you don't have to nominate tonight if you wanna go out and look. I wanted to make y'all aware that this was, and so if y'all wanted to have time for the December meeting to nominate 1 or 5, or how many, that you wanted to. I don't think it has a number that you have to, you can only name 1, but I will.
But then it'll come back to us as for voting later.
No.
No? That
They
was just
will.
it.
Yeah.
They will vote. Okay.
Do we
Yes,
have a-
you,
They will. Yeah.
they decide that.
Who's they?
The current appraisal board.
Appraisal district.
The Hayes County.
Oh,
And
the
this is the
current
one we
board.
do hold a lot of votes, but we won't, so this affects our area. So
Yeah.
whoever you nominate will be representing Hayes County,
Hayes
which is
County.
where all of us do live, so.
So this is not,
We're
But
just
this needs to be a
nominating.
registered
They're
voter
the
of
ones
Hayes
that are
County.
voting.
That's
Yeah.
a strange system. Like, what if they don't accept who we nominate? And, I mean, we're a pretty big contributor to the Hayes County Appraisal District. It seems like we would have some say in who's set on this board.
It's kind of like if, like a board, if one of y'all resigns, you nominate someone until the position comes back
That's
up
back.
again, which would be next year, but the time
Next
is
year,
already.
2019, yeah.
Yeah.
So
And then
then
they
the
would
people
run.
stand for election?
This is the remainder of the term,
Yes.
yes.
So this is an unexpired term, someone left the board?
Yes. Right.
And then we're gonna vote whenever it's time to vote?
Next year.
Next year.
Okay.
So everybody's good with that nomination, and there isn't any other, so we can go on to the next item? You don't need a motion, right?
Well, if
It
y'all
says
are
under
going to,
action.
yes, if you want to
It's under
recognize-
action, but
Yeah.
Randy, did you want to table this until next time, or did you want to nominate someone?
whatever the board, what do y'all,
I've already asked, and I did not find anybody.
I'm ready to move, to go forward.
you ready to go forward? Let's make a motion then.
I move that we nominate Ruben Garza to the Hayes County Appraisal District Board of Trustees to fill the where's the yeah, it had it on here, I read it.
It's for the vacant position.
The vacancy, yeah. For the unexpired term of office of January the 1st, 2018, and extending through December 31st, 2019. Is that correct? Yeah, because I think it's a 3-year term.
Okay, and we have a second from Ms. Hanson. Discussion or questions? All in favor? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Did you vote, Mr. Arredondo?
Yes.
Thank you. 6, 0. Discussion and possible action regarding hiring an additional special education teacher at Travis.
Good evening. As per the last board meeting, I wanted Mr. Massini and Ms. Mariano to discuss what steps we have taken to try to work with this situation. So I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Mr. Massini.
Thank you, Madam Cantu, Board of Trustees, Mr. Cardona. Since the last board meeting, we've completed eligibility folders. We looked at how our services match the IEPs for the students. We held ARD meetings to recommend different services for our scholars. Multiple meetings with not only staff from the special education department, but on site as well, to relook at our master schedule to meet the needs of all our learners. We've shown our co-teaching model works. Last year we had increases in our STAR scores with our students who receive special ed services. And since the last board meeting, we've used a guest teacher inconsistently, so we could continue to meet the needs of our learners, but we still are looking to fill that position with a permanent teacher.
And we're predicting the cost to be around $38.5 for the remainder of the year?
It's on the budget amendment page.
Right.
And why was this need unexpected at the time of the budget?
We have, well, we had 2 different grade levels that need co-teach reading in bilingual classrooms. We have 19 referrals coming up that are going to need special education evaluation. So we have a potential for additions in multiple grade levels that were not predicted back in the spring before this. And so that's why it wasn't planned in the spring.
Are the 19 students new to Travis, or 19 students that were previously unidentified?
It's a combination of new to Travis and students who after RTI meetings that we felt that we had to go further with the evaluation.
And is there any position that can be reallocated to meet the need?
Within Travis?
Sure.
No, like I said, we've had multiple meetings, not only from an in-building perspective, but even outside of our building, to look at our master schedule, we've tried, I mean, we've had 4 different teams really look at our master schedule to see the way we could rework this to meet the needs of the learners.
And do you feel like instruction at present without the additional position is in compliance with our requirements with regard to the children, or outside compliance?
We're maintaining compliance because of the substitute teacher that we're using.
Okay, thank you.
Ms. Hanson?
I move that we approve the hiring of an additional special education teacher at Travis.
I'll second. Further discussion or questions? All in favor? 6, opposed, 0. Thank you.
Thank you.
Consider approval of instructional assistant at Hernandez Elementary School and district-wide instructional assistant.
Hi, we're requesting an additional IA in one of our ACL self-contained special education classrooms. We have 2 students that require both assistance, giving them one-on-one attention, eloping, biting, very verbally and physically aggressive. That leaves the one teacher to maintain the 5 students. We are really struggling to meet the students' behavioral and academic IEP goals. Also in maintaining safety in that classroom. The way we have been able to maintain up to this point is we've had our ACL specialist, Leah Murphy, who is a district level position, working at Hernandez in that classroom. We also have the CARES clinic that has been coming and coaching that classroom. And then when Leah cannot be there, Ms. Murphy cannot be there, we have been trying to get a supplemental substitute just so that there's another body for safety. And so we are requesting an IA so that we can relieve Ms. Murphy to do her district level responsibilities.
Ms. Halsey?
Yeah, I have a question. I'm certainly in favor of staffing at the levels that we need to staff at, but I'm confused about the funding, and don't some of our federal funds cover these costs? That's where I'm confused, is the overlap between the federal and the local, and what the federal is supposed to cover and why it doesn't cover this.
Yeah. Federal funds are not.
So federal funds don't increase with need?
Mm-mm.
No.
Okay.
They're allocated.
A fixed number.
You get what you get.
Allocated, and
Yep.
that's it.
That's it.
Why does a single, I'm sorry, did you have another question?
No, that's fine.
Why does a single student or 2 students get to do the things you're describing and remain in the classroom and on campus? Like biting, violence, your fear for safety, like, I don't understand. Is there not like some sort of progressive discipline of student without regard to label or identification?
There are students with significant cognitive disabilities, and so the behaviors that they're exhibiting are part of their disability. So there's, the law does not allow you to discipline a student if it's a manifestation of their disability. You can self-contain a student, which is
like a
exactly
removal,
what we're doing.
not like a discipline in the traditional sense,
Right.
but removing them from the
Self-contained.
environment they're disruptive and
That's
creating a
exactly what
danger.
we're doing.
So one of the assistants actually has to take a student out into another classroom and work with them for part of the day.
leave them alone.
And then the other one, so it leaves the one teacher with the 5 students, and they're not students that, they still have challenges themselves.
You can't send them home.
No.
No matter what they do.
Right.
Set the place on fire.
Correct.
That's part of their disability.
What disability causes that? I mean, I'm just asking because I don't know. Like,
The
Complex.
student that we're discussing right now is diagnosed with an intellectual disability, but we all suspect that there's some other neurological impairment going on, possible fetal alcohol syndrome that is maybe undiagnosed. But if you meet her, very sweet young woman, but young lady, child, but she needs a lot of support. And we're working with outside agencies also.
Does she receive the medical and therapeutic stuff that we can't do in the district to try to help that situation improve, or?
So many hours have been spent working with the family and coming up with plans, and the CARES Clinic through Texas State, behavior specialists with the parents, through the Scheib Center. We have really supported the parents in making sure that she's receiving outside medical attention, psychological and medical attention and making adjustments to those. And we know that just like some of our other students, even when they do receive the outside agency support, it takes a long time to make sure the adjustments of medication or outside support services are the right match for those students. And so we're just trying to maintain safety and then make progress on their goals, and we're really struggling right now.
Yeah, I mean, I'm inclined to approve the addition even at the cost proposed. It just seems like the situation's sad, you know, for the student involved, the teachers that have to deal with that on a daily basis, and the family that's having to wrestle with that. And yeah, takes a lot of resources. And
those students,
us providing this will help in the resource train, but it's not going to change outcome.
It might. They get a little extra help.
students present a big challenge, and I admire the work you do with our students, because I know it's really hard. When I was at Goodnight, I remember seeing those students that were one-on-ones.
The agenda item also indicates approval of a district-wide instructional assistant. I didn't hear that dealt with, I guess, in the campus discussion.
So, and that is for the same purpose. As our numbers continue to grow, the needs of our students also continue to grow. And right now, we have 2 behavior specialists that serve district-wide all of our campuses, and that the majority of their time is spent with students receiving services through our focus program and also through our alternate curriculum learning program. As Ms. Owens just said, that's where a lot of our needs, behavior needs lie. So what we're asking is, what we want is a floater that would be able to help support the districts where, the campuses whenever a student is having significant need. Right now we have a lot of students that require social skills, and the teacher, the focus teacher at Hernandez and also at Travis, are dealing with so many daily crises that they're not able to meet the minutes of the social skills that the IEP calls for. So this person, if we have this floating IA, could help the behavior specialist by going to wherever the need is. Right now it would be Travis and Hernandez, and they would be able to help support those programs so the teacher can provide the social skills instruction that is required by the IEP. Right now there's approximately 250 students between Focus and our ACL programs that the district behavior specialists support. Yes,
Would this instructional assistant receive specialized training, or?
Yes, okay. Absolutely.
Mr. McLaughlin.
I'll move that we approve the hiring of the instructional assistant at Hernandez Elementary School.
I second.
And the district-wide instructional assistant?
I think we can handle that separately.
Oh, okay. You have a second from Ms. Hanson. Any further discussion or questions? All in favor? 6 opposed, 0.
As to the district-wide, I have a concern that an assistant based at no campus is based at no campus, and I don't know how that time's accounted for, and if it would be as productive as putting someone where the need is. We've already approved putting someone where there's a need at Travis and a need at Hernandez, and you said the main areas were Hernandez and Travis, so at least as an individual trustee, I'd like to see how these 2 new staff in positions deal with the need and then evaluate if there's a continued need for the district-wide.
Okay, so and I appreciate that. I just want to make sure you understand the second request is more for students that receive support through our focus program, which is the behavioral students with the emotional disturbances or other health impairment.
I do
not
understand.
necessarily ACL.
And we have focus.
Right, in the general ed settings.
We have focus at all campuses.
Yes, ma'am.
Can you remind me of the total number of students that are served? So how much, what percentage of our students is this 243?
We have approximately 971 students total that receive special education services.
Okay. And so this isn't quite a third, but it's close to, and it's we currently have 2 designated behavioral specialists working with this population.
Yes, ma'am, but I want to be real clear that they don't lay hands on all you know, 256 students, but that's where the bulk of their time is spent. They support the focus program, they support the ACL programs, because that is generally speaking where our behavior needs are.
So when you say they don't spend the bulk of their time with their hands on students in that sense, what does that mean, that they're office-based, or that they go back and forth to classrooms, they just don't necessarily get to every child in every classroom?
The behavior specialists support all of the focus teachers and the ACL teachers, so they go in and they work with the teachers, they work with the aides, they provide the training, they do the functional behavior assessments, they write the BIPs, they go to the yard meetings. So they're not like the person necessarily in there doing the service 40 hours a week. They're the person that is in and out working with all of those district-wide.
And do they also then go to general education classrooms?
Absolutely.
Right. So, and then would the person that you're requesting do the same responsibilities, or would they do something different? I'm confused as to that.
The request right now, because the need is so great at Travis and Hernandez, because the numbers of students in the focus program has grown so much, that right now that's where the IA would spend their time, is at these two campuses.
And why wasn't this position budgeted?
Again, the needs have increased, the numbers we didn't expect. We've had a large number, I don't know how many focus students have transferred. 18. When we start the year, we look at all the ratios, we see where the majority of the students are, and we look at how many staff we have and how many do we think we can make. Well, then if a student transfers in, or if you have a student that's going through a crisis and they're having, you know, they're just released from a hospital. One just was released, discharged from a hospital and is returned now, and so needs increased support. So things like that that you can't account for.
What's the increase from last year to this year on your focus at Hernandez?
It's remained pretty steady between 17 and 20, but the students move in and out because our mobility is high, and then their needs change. And so some of them that have really significant trauma, you know, after coming back over the summer, the dynamics of their family have changed. We have 2 new students, and their needs are significant to where we can't, if it's extremely disruptive, or it's a safety issue, or destructive to the, you know, property in the classroom, we're having to remove them so that the other kids can learn. But I'm struggling to find staff to be with that child, to keep the safety of that child until they're able to be calm enough to return into the classroom. And so I think it's just the dynamic. It's not even necessarily the number. It's just the level of need for the individual students that we have this year.
Thank you.
Ms. Cantu?
Ms. Halsey?
I'd like to make a motion that we approve the district-wide instructional assistant position.
I'll second that. Any further question or discussion?
Ms. Cantu.
All in favor? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All opposed? 1.
Thank you.
Okay, consider approval of budget amendments.
Ms. Cantu?
Mr. Arredondo?
I'd like it to make a motion that we approve budget amendments 8, 9, 10, and 12 as presented.
I will second that.
You're leaving out 11?
Yeah, just because it's from fund balance, I wanted to vote on it separately. So it's 8.
Okay, we have a motion. Mr. Arredondo made the motion. Ms. Halsey seconded.
Which
Ready
ones were they?
For discussion?
Everything but 11.
Ready for discussion? Questions? All in favor? 1, 2, 3, 4. Opposed? 2 opposed. Let's take that other one. What's number 11?
I move that we approve budget amendment 1911.
I'll second.
I don't understand why it's for a special education teacher at Travis, 2 instructional aides at Hernandez, and 1 district-wide behavior specialist, when it seemed like the request from the campus was for a single campus-based instructional aide.
I think the wording here is confusing. I think what we did just approve is 1, 1, 1.
Oh, yeah.
We approved a total of 3, but but the way that it's worded here, that it has 2, then 2 in parentheses, implies that there's an instructional aide at Hernandez and another one, or 2 at Hernandez, so it's a punctuation error, I think. That's my assumption.
This is 3 positions?
It is.
It's
It
3
is.
total.
Okay.
One teacher and 2 IAs.
Instructional assistants.
Any further question or discussion? All in favor? The second,
Miguel.
Mr. Arredondo. All in favor? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Opposed? 1 opposed.
I move that we adjourn.
Second.
Moved and seconded that we adjourn. All in favor? 6 opposed, 0.
I read that.